With decent room for 4 and a good boot, the Countryman opens the possibility of Mini ownership up to buyers who find the smaller models in the range too impractical. It especially targets customers who like Qashqai-class SUV-style Crossover models, yet brings them more performance, sharper handling and all the cute retro design cues that have underpinned this brand's success. Fashionable family buyers will form an orderly queue. Back in the late 60s, Sir Alec Issigonis, designer of the original British Mini, was facing a rather difficult task. His little city runabout was a huge success, driven and loved by everyone from Peter Sellers to the Beatles. But beyond it, there was little for family buyers to move on to. What was needed was a 5-door, 4-metre-long sister model that retained much of the Mini's cleverness. The result was called the Austin Maxi. 40 years on, BMW were facing a similar situation. Their new Mini was a huge hit, but it couldn't offer 5 proper doors or decent rear passenger or luggage space. This one can, and it's called the Countryman. Never has anything badged Mini ventured to such a size or boasted anything like this model's level of 5-door practicality. Fully 37 centimetres longer, 10 centimetres wider and 15 centimetres taller than the standard 3-door version, this is the biggest model the brand will ever build. Its name is borrowed from the old Austin designation for estate cars in times past, models with quaint wood adornment on their rear ends. But this is no Countryman for old men, appealing instead to the youthful, vibrant crossover market, full of Qashqai-class cars that mix design ideas from ordinary family hatchbacks and 4x4s to create practical family transport with a dash of off-road ruggedness thrown in. If that sounds appealing, stay with me as we check this car out. This car's price and size suggest it to be a more grown-up thing than an ordinary Mini. It's safer, more spacious and able to cover longer distances. But as any teenager will tell you, being grown up can also mean being boring. So does driving a Countryman feel like driving a Mini? Well, first impressions are that it does. You get this remarkably quick-witted steering, which gives the car instantly a keener feel than you get in the kind of Golf-sized hatch or crossover model that you could buy for similar money. A good start then, though once you throw the car hard into a corner, it's immediately obvious that you're driving something quite different from the Minis that we know and love. Now, this model's crossover class pretensions see it riding 10mm higher than the standard Mini 3-door hatch, and it's also 300 kilograms heavier, statistics that have to tell somewhere. But even so, this is by some margin the best driver's choice in the crossover sector these days, one not known for its levels of dynamic prowess, and another reason why this model's entrance to this segment is all the more welcome. No other crossover model would dare come equipped with as much as 184 brake horsepower. That's the output boasted by the 1.6-litre turbocharged Cooper S petrol model that I'm driving here, that's capable of getting from rest to 60 in as little as 7.6 seconds on the way to a top speed of 134 miles an hour. Now, this variant, along with the most powerful diesel, a BMW-sourced 112 brake horsepower 1.6, can be ordered conventionally front-driven, or, for the first time in any Mini, with four-wheel drive. It's called the All-4 four-wheel drive system, and it's one of those smart setups that's able to automatically vary the power output to either front or rear axles, depending on the conditions that you're in. Now, typically, you'll be driving with the torque distributed 50-50 front to rear, but should conditions get slippery, then all the torque can be diverted to the most appropriate axle. There are no buttons, no knobs to press. The car will automatically decide what to do and how to do it all on its own. This is no off-roader, of course, this country being one designed for snowy pavements, slippery grass, and that bit of extra peace of mind on an icy February morning, exactly as many potential buyers will want. The rest of the time, it'll be the fun family runabout you bought it to be. It's extra bulk compensated for by a standard ride quality that's far better than the standard Mini, and a slick shifting 6-speed manual gearbox that's standard if you choose not to go for the Steptronic 6-speed auto. Most Countryman owners won't want to stretch up to and beyond the £20,000 mark to afford niceties like powerful engines, auto gearboxes and four-wheel drive. And for them, BMW has provided another more affordable bunch of 1.6 litre power plants. Two petrol units of 98 and 122 brake horsepower, the latter being for Cooper buyers, and a 90 brake horsepower 1.6 litre diesel. Now, there's no performance fireworks here, but many buyers will feel that rest of 60 in 12 to 13 seconds on the way to a top speed of around 107 miles an hour. That's what you get in the entry-level models. Well, they'll feel that that's quite fast enough for a car of this kind. Anyone still clinging to vestiges of Britishness in the modern-day Mini brand will be a little discomforted by this Countryman. The minimal design cues shared between current-day hatch and the Issigonis original are forgotten here. Unlike other modern Minis, it's not even built in Blighty, though potential owners will be cheered by the fact that it rolls along Austrian production lines alongside £150,000 Aston Martin Rapides. Which is not to say that brand identity has been lost. Quite the opposite, in fact. Look around and all the usual Mini traits are very much in evidence. From the four-square stance with the wheels pushed out to the extremities to the unmistakable front end with its rounded headlamps. Everything has been upscaled for this larger five-door car though, with the height and the wheelbase far in excess of anything that the brand has tried before. And it's the same inside, where a stretched floor plan means that at last a Mini can offer you two proper rear doors and seats at the back that two fully sized adults can get comfortable in. Now, I've gone for two individual rear seats here, but there's also the option of a rear bench that theoretically is big enough for three people, assuming that the middle occupant is a fairly small child. That does mean, however, doing without the full extent of this novel centre rail onto which all manner of mostly optional items can be clipped. Now, I've got cup holders and a sunglass holder on here, but buyers who make free with the options list can clip on anything from iPhone chargers to dog bowls. These rear seats recline for greater comfort on longer journeys and slide backwards or forwards so that you can decide between a large boot or plenty of legroom. Sadly, there's not quite enough space for you to have both at the same time. Still, the Volkswagen Golf rivaling 350 to 450 litres of space that you do get is double that of an ordinary Mini, and there's a useful concealed compartment underneath the boot floor. The seat's folded capacity of 1,170 litres, though, isn't quite as class competitive, and it's not particularly easy to stretch in and get them down, plus you don't get a completely flat load surface once you have. Up front, all the expected Mini design cues are present and correct. With the exception of the rather awkward to use aircraft style handbrake, owners familiar with the brand's smaller models will feel right at home. There's a usual oversized speedometer, in the centre of which is a new optional high definition colour screen which can display sat-nav information, and also the innovative Mini connected system, capable amongst other things of displaying the contents of your iPhone for easy reference as you drive. Plus there's the usual and initially slightly confusing chrome tipped switches for electric windows, air conditioning and central locking, all clustered together. If you own a standard three-door Mini hatch, then you're looking at a premium of around £3,000 to graduate up to a Countryman model with a similar engine. But you aren't who this car is really being aimed at. A pricing bracket for Countryman models of between £16,000 and £25,000, with a £1,000 premium on the pokiest petrol and diesel variants if you want the all-4 four-wheel drive system. Well, that's pure crossover territory, with pricing matched pretty closely to rival Nissan Qashqai and Mitsubishi ASX crossover models. Now, these cars offer a little bit more power than the Mini does, but a lot less brand equity, something that Mini also hopes will shield it from losing sales to budget brand crossover contenders that are £2,000 to £3,000 model for model cheaper, cars like Skoda's Yeti and Hyundai's iX35. Whichever of the 1.6 litre engines you choose, 98, 122 or 184 brake horsepower petrol, or 90 or 112 brake horsepower diesel, equipment levels are of the kind you'd expect for the type of money being asked. That means that you get air conditioning, electric windows, you get a decent quality DAB digital radio with a USB point. You also get reverse parking sensors and roof rails. Safety-wise, there's ESP stability control, the usual braking and traction aids, 6 airbags, and a tyre pressure monitoring system. But then, of course, the decisions really start. It isn't just a question of choosing between 2- and 4-wheel drive, manual or automatic transmission. There's a simply endless options list, including a John Cooper Works handling pack that rather pointlessly rids the car of the 10mm height advantage that defines Countryman motoring in the first place. Better is a nifty bike rack that fits onto special chassis legs at the back and allows the rear hatch to be raised while bikes are still on the rack. Now, we've come to expect a whole bundle of features geared towards maximising efficiency on MINI products, and the Countryman lives up to this. Auto start stop to cut the engine when you're at the lights or in traffic, brake energy regeneration, and ancillary systems that function only when called upon to do so, rather than constantly pumping away in the background, all serve to lower fuel consumption. There's a gear shift indicator for manual models, and the Steptronic automatic gearbox also has its own efficiency benefits. Most frugal is the 1D diesel model, which manages 64.2 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and puts out just 116 grams per kilometre of CO2. But even the fastest Cooper S petrol variant that I'm driving here manages 44.8 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 146 grams per kilometre of CO2. If you go for the all-4 four-wheel drive system with its 65 kilogram weight penalty, you're looking at reducing fuel consumption figures by about 10%, but CO2 returns drop only by a couple of points. Insurance groupings range between 12 and 30, and residual values should be at least 10% better than obvious rivals. Here is a Mini, but not as we know it. But then if it was, this Countryman wouldn't be able to keep existing Mini people loyal when they outgrew their urban runabouts and shopping rockets. Nor would over 80% of its sales tempt in buyers new to the brand. People liking the vibrant SUV-inspired crossover concept, but wanting it with a bit more tarmac sparkle. This Countryman will do both these things, though at the cost of British style and build. It's a car as suited to the urban jungle as a Land Rover is to the Amazon, a car created for the times we live in, and a country you could be proud of.